Welcome to Amplify Digest, where I break down some of the top news and stories and trends and all things people in 5 minutes or less. Tuesday night, Politico broke a leak memo from the Supreme Court stating their intent to overturn Roe versus Wade. And this would be a monumental erasure of reproductive rights and freedom in this country. And understandably, people are very concerned about what this means, how this will impact lives, how this will cost lives, and how other protections this may open the door for additional erasure. And these have been difficult political days in our country for the last 5 years, and these are still very difficult days. And as HR practitioners, this is another event that we have to really ensure that we're looking after our people. We're giving them the extra support and grace and space that they will need as they navigate these times of uncertainty, especially our marginalized employees. And so as we wait to see what the results of this and further downstream impacts of this decision may be, HR yet again will be in a position of really needing to be there to support employees who will be no doubt impacted by these decisions. So some of you may be wondering, what do you do in a scenario like this? Do you send a memo to employees? Do you not send a memo? What should you say if you say anything? And there is no definitive right or wrong answer to that. But I do want to share this memo from Dylan Field. Dylan is the CEO of Figma, and he sent this message to employees the day after the announcement. And so I found the response to be very measured, supportive, and empathetic. And so if you're looking for what type of a message you might send to employees, perhaps it might look something like this. And I'll be including the links to the Politico story and piece, as well as Dylan's tweet in the show notes. So you can see those and all the other materials if you'd like to go deeper after this video. There's also several reports that you'll find in this week's Amplify Digest. This piece by KPMG on what the board agenda is for 2022 is very insightful from a talent perspective. And this piece from KPMG on the new world of work that we're building also has some great data that you may want to reference as you're building out programs to support this new world of work that we're building. And the big news last week was Airbnb's announcement of their new remote programs. Many companies have introduced remote programs. That in and of itself is not very new, but they were very specifically on where you can work. And Airbnb announced that employees can work in whatever countries they'd like for up to 3 months. And so definitely a very unique twist on some of the digital by default remote structures that we've heard about over the last a couple of years, frankly, and really interesting to see how this plays out over time. This piece has the internal memo that Brian Chesky sent to employees highlighting 5 key components of the program. And former Redefining HR podcast guest and accelerator instructor Q Hamarani is one of the architects of this program. And so I'll definitely be staying in touch with him to track the metrics and impact over time. And on this topic, I also want to spotlight this post from LJ Brock. LJ is the Chief People Officer at Coinbase, also a former guest on the Redefining HR podcast, but he's a deep believer in open source practices. It's one of the things that I've admired about his leadership. And he took time to share some of their learnings when they moved to fully remote last year. And so again, this is definitely a worthwhile read for those of you that may be in the earlier stages of your transition to remote first or even hybrid. I think there's some key lessons here that will be helpful. And lastly, for this week, I want to spotlight this resource by the Academy to Innovate HR. It's 22 innovative HR leaders to follow in 2022. Lists are great, especially when you're on them. Haha, running joke. But more importantly, there's a lot of really innovative people practitioners who I admire on this list. And so I think one of the things that's really important, especially as we're in these changing times in HR, to find some of those innovative leaders who can inspire and inform your work. And this list has a lot of them. So if you're looking for extra inspiration, I definitely recommend you check this out. That's a wrap for this week. I'll be back next week with more news and trends and resources. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you next week.